Hey, Mr. Campbell, we got some good news. We got some not so good news. So the good news is that we checked the frames over, and we have your frames on your boat are in actually pretty good shape, especially considering the age. Of course, we found rot, this obvious rot in the frame by the battery, and we found not rot, but a broken frame out here and a broken batten. I suspect maybe something struck the bottom, or the bottom the boat struck something in this area. But when we fix this frame, we'll be able to push that back into shape. This frame right here had a little bit of rot in it. So basically, but these guys ended up being, well, they looked a little gnarly. They ended up being not soft, so that's good. So so that's the good news. Let's see, what else was I going to say about this? So fixing these frames up here, and then we've got on the chine on this side. There's actually I believe there's some life left in the chine without doing anything right here. And that would be about 2 days work up there, about $1,500. And we think we got a couple days work back here replacing this section of the chine. That section from here forward is new chine. But they didn't replace this part back here. So, and this is the structure, remember, that is the chine. So that's got some life left in it. It's not, we could choose to not do anything about this at this time, but it's been, what somebody's done is they've hollowed out the rot and treated it perhaps, and by doing so they've arrested the rot, but still it's still not up to our standards. So we would use all of the fixing this and fixing those frames. We'd use all of what we have in the budget for the frames right now. Now we don't know for sure about, until we pull the tank, we don't know for sure about the transom bow. That could add another 2 days if there's a problem with the transom bow. And again, all I was going back by thinking there might be a problem with the transom bow is the fact that we've got some peeling paint. We've got somebody's worked back here with some epoxy, and I don't know who did what back there in the corner. So I'm thinking there might be an issue back here. We'll know when we pull the tank. So the worst that could happen, I think, is that an extra 2 days be added, an extra, which is, with materials, an extra $1,500. So that's the good news. The not so good news is that on your engine, Ford numbers the cylinders 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 6 and 7 have 0 compression. 5 has 60 pounds compression. Seems like we're also low on number 1, but several. Well, anyway, I've got the whole list I can show you, but and we're used to seeing low compression on an engine that has set for a while. We're used to seeing a lot of variation, and usually when after you run the engine and you bring it to operating temperature, you blow all the crap that might be in the valve seats out of it and so forth, that once that's done, you usually see the compression come up. So we haven't tried to run it yet. One of the things we had run into one time was where someone had tried to adjust valves, and it was on a different engine. It wasn't the Y block, Ford Y block. It was actually a Chris-Craft 283, and somebody had adjusted valves, and they had where the valves weren't closing. They adjusted the rocker arms, and they went way too far, and the valves were literally not being allowed to close by the rocker arms. So Now what we had here was the valves were maladjusted. You only had like 4 thousandths clearance, and you're supposed to have like 19 on the intake and 20 on the exhaust, I believe. So the valves weren't adjusted properly. We have adjusted them, and we're going to start it and run it. But again, no compression at all, even after the valves were adjusted. No compression on number 6 and 7. So, and we did take the valve covers off and look, it does appear that the valves are opening and closing. And again, of course, and we adjusted them, so obviously the valve covers were off. So we don't know what's going on there yet. And we can do a leak down test and tell, but we thought what we'd do is go ahead and run it first and see if we can get any change in all the compression readings. But we had up to 120 pounds on some of the cylinders, 110, 120. That would be acceptable if they were all in that range. So anyway, so if we had to, that's probably an easy repair. That's we could repair the engine. We don't have to rebuild the engine, especially since some of these cylinders are doing really well. So so that's my thought process on your engine. We've already started on the interior, of course, and now what we'll do is we'll pull your tank out probably tomorrow and get started on making you a new tank once we have operated the engine. And so I don't think we got any disasters here, and so I'll be sending you an invoice for the refinish product, the strip and refinish product that we'll be using, and we'll keep on moving forward on your project. And let me know what your thoughts are, and I'm sure I'll hear from you soon. Thanks.